And in the middle of a ferocious war of words between India and China over the month-long Doklam standoff, now India and China bilateral meeting between the special representatives on the sidelines of the BRICS NSA has been ruled out. India today has learned that China is not keen on dialogue unless India withdraws its troops. On the other hand, India has not sought any bilateral meeting. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval will be in Beijing for the BRICS meet on the 27th and 28th of July. And in a fresh dare, the former Chinese diplomat told the Chinese state media that Indian troops are only left with a few options, rather just one option, that is to withdraw troops or face the consequences. Okay, let me go straight across now to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor. Geeta, so explain things for us. There was no bilateral meeting in Hamburg as well. You were there. There was a brief interaction between the Prime Minister and Xi Jinping. Now, what is the latest as far as the BRICS summit is concerned?
Well, the fact that the BRICS National Security Advisors meeting is taking place in Beijing and Ajit Doval, Indian National Security Advisor, is going to be in Beijing, Avantika, there was massive speculation that on the sidelines of this meeting, the two countries, India and China, will be able to de-escalate tensions between the two countries emerging out of the tri-junction border standoff that is India, Bhutan and China. But that is not to be. What India today has learned is that there is no on the sidelines meeting between the special representatives on border talks, that's Ajit Doval and Yang Jiechi in Beijing. Not the fact that China does not want it, but also the fact that India has not sought for a meeting. Either side is absolutely standing by its own version of how they want to deal with the matter and how the nature of the crisis has to be de-escalated. On the one hand, China says withdrawal of troops absolutely a precondition. India maintaining that diplomatic exchange is important to de-escalate tension.
Absolutely. Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant also joins us for more. And Gaurav, why is it that this month-long standoff continues? Why is it that the issue has escalated to such an extent?
So it's a question of prestige now, and it's a question of different perceptions. India has gone there to help Bhutan. There is a boundary dispute between China and Bhutan. India's assisting Bhutan. Bhutan has issued a démarche against Beijing's changing the status quo on ground. So India says, let's get back to status quo ante and let's talk and sort it out. China says, first withdraw and then we talk. Then we'll talk. What's very crucial at this point is, in case India withdraws and China stays, it's not only detrimental to Bhutan's national security, it's also crucial to India's national security, and then it would be seen as China succeeding in bullying a smaller country, Bhutan, and India not standing up for a friend in Bhutan. And then there are signals that come out of it which will impact China and India's relations with rest of the neighbors in this entire region. So these are two Asian giants, eyeball to eyeball, in a confrontation where neither is willing to blink first.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the situation.
And you know, Gaurav, very briefly, do you think that there's a deliberate attempt, to test India's resolve repeatedly by releasing all sorts of provocatory statements and, resorting to such threatening tactics?
That is exactly what China intends to do, is test India's resolve. Will India stand up for a country like Bhutan, or should smaller countries only rely on China and no other country in this region? So yes, it's a very, very big game of brinkmanship. Neither country blinking at this point of time. But will this lead to an escalation where, in the military parlance, as they say, can the balloon go up? Can there be a short, sharp conflict? As of now, there are no indications whatsoever, either in eastern Ladakh or in the middle sector in Uttarakhand, or here in Sikkim, or even in Arunachal Pradesh. So there is a 4,000 kilometer long border between the two countries, but there is shrill rhetoric that's coming from the Chinese media, from their army, from their diplomats, but nothing officially between China and India. Apart from this issue, ties continue as normal.
So, Geeta, what are you hearing from, the Ministry of External Affairs? As we have heard the Foreign Secretary saying that issues in the past have been resolved. This matter needs to be resolved with utmost maturity. But strategically and diplomatically, what is India going to do about these kind of threats? I mean, it's come down to either withdraw or face the consequences. Geeta? Anant Krishnan joins us for more on this. And Anant, it's really come down to that, the rhetoric getting shriller by the day, with both sides refusing to blink. But one just has to understand as to where is this all headed to?
Well, that's a real question, Avantika, and it seems to be that what China has been saying, they've been sticking to their guns, saying that there's no room for dialogue until and unless India withdraws unilaterally. So that's something that's very difficult to see. And as Gaurav just reported, it's just been a question of increasing brinkmanship. The latest warning, of course, as we reported this morning from the former Chinese diplomat, was even threatening the use of force. So it remains to be seen where this all goes. Ultimately, all three sides want a compromise that doesn't impinge on their national interests. And the question is whether they can find a middle ground. But China's very public shill rhetoric, there's no doubt, is certainly narrowing the space for this.
Absolutely. Anant and Gaurav and Geeta, thank you all for joining us. Meanwhile, Pakistan also at the same time, India's other troubled neighbor, continues to keep the border boiling. And now with the Chief Minister stating that China has also been interfering in the affairs of the state, the big question that arises is whether Pakistan is provoking at China's behest. Let's take a look at this report.
Children hiding under desks to escape Pakistani army targeting their village along the line of control in the Nowshera sector. In the past 72 hours, the Pakistan army has upped the ante, targeting schools, villages, military posts and vehicles along the line of control. As the face-off at the Doklam Plateau enters its second month, Pakistan has upped the ante to increase the pressure on the Indian army. July 19th, an army JCO, Subedar Shashi Kumar, succumbed to his injuries in ceasefire violation by the Pakistan army. On the same day, repeated ceasefire violations by Pakistan army in the Bhimbir and Nowshera sector. July 18th, Sipahi Jasprit Singh killed in ceasefire violation by Pakistan army in the Nowshera sector. July 17th, Naik Mudassar Ahmad killed in Pakistan army ceasefire violation in the Rajouri sector. More than 40 Jawans killed in Pakistan ceasefire violations since January 2017. The United States State Department has now chipped in, adding that India and China must resolve the crisis peacefully and come up with a better arrangement.
All school children were saved when the administration and the army were taking out all school children in a bulletproof vehicles outside the school. There was a blast from the Pakistani. One mortar shell fell near the vehicle and all school children were saved and they were taken to shelter to the Nowshera sector.
Security forces believe Pakistan is working in tandem with China to create pressure points along the India-Pakistan line of control, even as India strengthens its defense to deal with Chinese army's psychological warfare along the Sino-Indian line of actual control. But is Pakistan's recently increased aggression a direct consequence of being hand-in-glove with its old ally China? As China needles along the Sikkim border, Islamabad is keeping troops busy at the LOC. The question of Pakistan and China jointly meddling was also raised by the opposition.
Either we officers have started getting rotten material, who cannot think, who cannot take a decision. There was no question of a decision.
As per the Indian Army Chief, General Bipin Rawat has asserted the forces' readiness to wage battle along 2.5 fronts.
India only wants status quo, okay, what was existing earlier. Even in Bhutan and China, there is an agreement, I think 2012, where they have said that till the boundary dispute is resolved, status quo will be maintained. So China has tried to change that status quo. Both Bhutan and India are right in objecting.
With several kilometers of its borders on the boil, India is effectively readying to counter the dual duplicity of Beijing and Islamabad. With Ashwini Kumar in Nowshera, Bureau Report, India Today.